You're listening to the official podcast of Asbury University, produced by students with God-honoring conversations that inform, edify, and encourage. This is Asbury. We explore culture and current topics through a Christian worldview, promoting a well-balanced life, and we empower our community to belong, become, and be set apart. I'm your host, Abby Lobb. Welcome to This is Asbury. Well, welcome back to This is Asbury. I'm joined in the studio today with someone from Team AU.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Well, Chad Mays is the head women's basketball coach here at Asbury. How long have you been here, Coach?
I am starting my 6th season.
Awesome. You guys have had some really good teams. I know you had the all-time leading scorer last year.
Yes.
You've had some good seasons recently. Talk a little bit about your journey here to Asbury, your time as a basketball coach, and kind of what you've been up to.
We have been very successful, but they win in spite of the coaching. So, because I feel like sometimes I get in the way. Last year, there was a prime example. We played in a really prestigious invitation up at Thomas More. They had us come up there, and we were playing Georgetown College, which was ranked 12th in the nation. There was a prime opportunity. We were going to run a play, and then Jacqueline Rubel, she came over and she's like, Coach, this play right here will work. This play right here will work. And I was like, okay, run it. She ran it, and we got a basket and won that night. We ended up getting beat. I think it's like 8. So it was a war. So it was awesome. But then later on that night, Ginger Colvin from Campbellsville University, which was ranked number 1 in the nation at the time, she sent me a text at home. She was like, Coach, I was watching that game, and she said one of the coolest things is when your player came over there and you called her over there and gave her that play, and it ran, and she came over and chest bumped you. And I was like, well, I can't really take credit for that because she was actually coming over to tell me that this is the play that was going to work. And she actually changed out the play that I was going to run, and it worked. And she was like, Coach, just don't ever tell anybody that but me. So now I put it out there for everybody.
Funny. So, yeah, you've recognized your players are very capable. That's part of leadership.
And that's why I was going to circle back to that because, my career has not been in education. My career came from state police and law enforcement. I started off, and I've been at 3 different agencies. And at every agency, what they did was they would empower us. When you're out there on your own, you got to make your own calls. You can't, pick up your phone, call the sergeant. Yeah, call the sergeant and do that. I mean, that was the training that they put us through. People are always laughing and saying, that Kentucky State Police, anybody that came from there always thinks that you're the best, and that's not it at all. But we do have great training. Some of the best training I ever had in my career. And so, because they empower you to be able to lead on your own and to think on your own. So when I brought that to Asbury to be the coach here, I was like, look, I'm not out there playing. I'm 55. You don't want me out there. I'm old. You don't want me out there running around. So what you do want is you want to engage, you want to equip, and you want to empower people. And we do that with the ladies on the team. We do that with anybody that we have in the missions. To be honest with you, I try to do that with anybody we meet. The engagement process has been to get them here on campus. And then now we're in the process of equipping them in the preseason to empower them. Like this weekend, we have a big classic up in John Carroll. It's one of the best classics in the D3 in early season. So, we go up there. Starts on Friday, 7 p.m. We play John Carroll, the host team. Yes, I can kind of control a little bit, but after that, they got to play on their own. When players come in here, they're always like, you give us so much freedom. And I'm like, well, that's part of it. You want to be able to think on your own, play on your own, and react because ultimately this is not just basketball. This is about life. Yeah. So it's all about the engagement process.
That's such a good skill for them to cultivate on the basketball court. So aside from that, you also equip them in other ways. You have a mission organization. You take them on mission trips. You teach them how to get out of their cultural context. You put them in some situations where they have to tell others about Jesus. They have to serve. Can you talk about that side of how you prepare your athletes?
It was a vision that Chandy and I, we've always wanted to be able to incorporate, with the student athletes to college level.
And not just basketball. You're talking every sport.
Any sport. And we had been doing that in Puerto Rico. We'd done it in the Dominican Republic. But we wanted to be able to be more on the inside, trying to help launch people out. Because we'd always been on the receiving end. And we'd just been praying about it. And then so we were hoping that we could do that. Well, God had a plan for that. And we had several Asbury teams come to Puerto Rico. Once we got here, he was like, we're actually looking for this. It was almost like word for word what Chandy and I talked about. Because we had been living full time in Puerto Rico for 2 years.
Yeah, I remember I talked to you one time and you were like, sorry, I'm on the beach in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, we had teams there. We'd take them down for a beach day. And I remember when you called me, I was like...
It's like I could hear the waves in the background. How do I get in one of those trips, Coach?
Yeah, there you go. It was like he had been listening to everything we had said, like Mark had been listening. So I told Chandy, I was like, this is almost too good to be true. So we prayed about it. Lo and behold, we ended up here. What they were looking for was the cross-cultural experiences. The student athletes is more what I'm geared for. But we have traditional students. They've been going too. We've had several through Dr. Dan Lewis has been bringing a lot of the business kids.
Yes.
And so they've been coming, and they're actually working with Link 8, the ministry, because we have a bakery there. It's not ours. It's our partners there. They have a bakery. So they've been actually, our interns have been going down. They've been working in the bakery. They've been doing all kinds of stuff.
I heard they were creating some business plans and
Yes,
things like that.
that's
That's
correct.
great. The business students. Can you talk about why sport, why it's so beneficial for a team to get down there to Puerto Rico together and serve?
The team grows. They're like, well, I never realized that, Abby was this, because she doesn't really
Maybe they
talk.
trust each other more.
They do. And then they see each other in a different light. And the bonding has been just phenomenal. And I'm not going to say every time, but a lot of times it leads to some of the best seasons ever. Now, you don't just go there just so you can have a good season, because we've had teams go down and come back and not have as good a season, but they will say, this has been the best experience we've had.
They grew in other ways, probably.
Exactly. And to be honest with you, that's what held the team together. Because we try to make it to where it's a little bit tougher. Just don't go down there and just put paint on the wall and then walk off.
Yeah.
Because that's not really what we're about.
Well, you go in the summer, too. It's hot. It's
Very hot.
uncomfortable.
It is. We don't believe in just digging a hole just to have the next group come in and fill the hole up.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. Where we're at, it's very open to the public. The guest house is above a bakery that our partners there own. So when you go down and you go into the bakery to get something, you're in line with the Puerto Rican people.
Yeah.
None of them speak English. So, there's a lot of charades going on. But then if we have people, some of the student athletes that go down, or just the students in general from here, if they know Spanish or if they minored in Spanish or majored in Spanish, then it gives them an opportunity to really lead them out, pull them out of, say, a spot where they don't feel as comfortable. They're here, they're like, well, I don't know if I can use this. And we put them where they can actually use what they're majoring in or minoring in.
Yeah, whether that's language or, like you said, business, or
Exactly.
There are some other areas where you've worked with the people in Puerto Rico where it's translated directly to something your student athletes are doing.
We've done with music. People have gone down.
Cool.
They've led worship. Then we've done just ministry in general, student ministry. So we just put them right into it. And then obviously in teaching, I would argue with anybody that we have the best, when it comes to education. And we're always down there where they can put them right in. They can help tutor kids and things
that's
like
something
that.
you guys do here domestically as well, right? You all partner with some schools in the
Yes.
area.
We've had a couple of different schools here in Jessamine County that we go and we do after-school programs with. So my team has been very active in that. That is one of the things I'll just say in general, not just about my team, but just really every team up there is doing something. I can't take credit for that. There's just times that people will call me and say, hey, this is going on. And then I'll make mention to one of the other coaches to say, hey, do you have anybody who wants to do this? Manny will jump in and say, hey, well, I got guys who'll do this.
How have you seen the athletics department at Asbury as a whole kind of shift since you've brought this really mission-minded focus?
It was always there, but in the past, I think people kind of base their self-worth on whether we win or lose. Now, we can compete at a high level in a Christ-like manner. I think in the past, it's been hard to define that line. Mark Whitworth's done a fantastic job telling us and getting coaches in here to say, look, we can do both. We can win and still be a representation of Christ.
Well, and you guys are recognized for that recently as a team with the King Chasing Award from the NCCAA. Can you explain what the King Chasing Award was?
And those are like going out doing service projects, and they're not stage service projects. They're legitimate service projects because they know the difference. Like if you're just doing like a photo op, that does not count.
Yeah.
These are like legitimate things that you're doing.
And is that required to be in that program?
Yes. And you've got to want to do those because, like I said, if you're just doing a photo op, like if you're just going to go stand in front of some cans,
It's going to be pretty obvious.
yeah, it's pretty obvious. So these are things that people are putting in legitimate time, legitimate effort, and then you've got to actually seek out some opportunity because people are always needing help. But in order to have, say, 10, 15, 20, 30 student athletes show up, it's got to be a legitimate thing. So with that being said, there was some criteria that had to hit, and everybody had to participate. So across the board, everybody was like all in. We all wanted to be a part of it. Overseas missions was part of that. We checked that mark with me being there. And then just local opportunities were there. Will Schaus is over our NCCAA division, he and Mark Whitworth. And they went just to the convention. They were not thinking anything about it because just to be honest with you, that's our fabric. That's who we are.
You're not doing it for recognition.
No,
Yeah.
we did not. there was at no point that we do that, setting out to do this. This is just what we do all the time. Will turned it all in and was just sitting there because there was going to be meetings and stuff that those two had to go to. And then, Will was telling me later, he was like, I don't know who was more shocked. He was
So you all didn't know you were going to win?
Had no idea.
Oh, that's funny because you were named the King Chasing Institution of the Year. Is that correct?
That is correct.
By the National Collegiate Christian College Athletics Association.
That's correct. Yeah. And so Will was shocked. So was Mark. Mark was like, did you know we were getting this? He was like, I had no idea. So
I love that.
Yeah, it was. But it's like you said, we did not set out to do that. And we didn't set out to say, we're going to go out and win that. This is just who we are and what we do. I mean, we would have served no different this year than we did last year or in the years to come.
Yeah. Well, you are right in the middle of preseason. You have some scrimmages probably this week, or when does your schedule start?
Season tips off this Friday up in close to Cleveland.
Okay.
We have 2 games. We play John Carroll, and then depending upon whether we win or lose, we'll play again on Saturday.
Awesome. How is your season looking at the beginning?
I think at the beginning is you always try to mesh people together. I always say don't base what you see off at the beginning. Now, this has probably been, and I've had some great teams. They've been awesome to coach, great leadership. They've learned from the ones that's gone before them. And each year, it just seems like we're getting sharper and sharper at what we're doing. And once again, that goes back to just trying to create that culture to where each disciples the other.
Yeah.
And I just feel like we're getting better and better. Now, what our record will reflect at the end, I don't know. I was telling some people, we might be a little shaky up till Christmas, but then after Christmas, I wouldn't want to play us.
Yeah.
So
good. Well, I'm looking forward to watching you guys play.
Yeah. So we'll see. I think this could be one of our better teams.
Good. Yeah, because you all lost a really high scorer. So do you have some people who are younger this year filling in?
We got in 6 freshmen.
Oh, wow. Great.
Yeah, and they're very talented, but they're still freshmen.
Yes.
So the good thing about it is getting closer to the end of the year, they're going to be closer to being sophomores than they were the early season freshmen.
Yeah,
so,
that's great. It's fun to have freshmen because, the sky's the limit with them. That's great.
We have 3 really good upperclassmen that are leading.
Good.
And then we have several more that we did return. So, but, it's one of those deals where you're always looking, how do people react to having people that have been around for so long that have just been basically just, when you think of the program, you think of these 2 or 3 people, the Jacqueline Rubles, the Autumn Hereford. And when you sit around, you think about them and basically the program has run, on those 2 people for so long. And then now they're not there. So how are people going to react? Now, I can tell you that my ladies that I have here now, these girls, they're like, we love them, but we want to carve our own.
Yeah. And what are they doing now post graduation?
They're both they're both teaching.
Oh, great. Well, any closing thoughts as we head into the season and head into this new group of players?
I'm going to always challenge people to come out and just watch, especially because I know this is going to come to a lot of people that probably are Asbury alums. And then for some, I know some are probably picking this up that just heard about Asbury, especially with the outpouring. They're just like, hey, I want to just go check this place out. And if you're close by, I mean, we'd love to have you come watch the women's basketball. But just any time that you can pour in to a college student, it is one of the most rewarding things ever because you got to stop and think. Some of these kids, yeah, they may come from an hour down the road, may come 15 minutes down the road, but we have student athletes here that come from the other side of the world.
Yeah.
If you have an opportunity, we're not saying you got to come and feed them. That's not what,
they don't have their parents nearby. Come cheer.
It's just the opportunity. If they come out and they see the stands full,
it's so encouraging.
It is. And you have no idea. And does it give us a home court advantage? Does it give us a home field advantage? Yeah, it does. But it means more to them when just their heart is full.
And they want to win.
They do. And you will see high quality basketball. You'll see high quality soccer. You'll see high quality baseball, softball. You'll see all that. It means something to those young men and women just from a competitive side. And it does. It gives us a boost. There's no doubt. But the fact that they can go back to their dorms and say, I don't know who those people were, but that was amazing. And I tell them all the time, you don't have to trade your allegiance to University of Kentucky. You don't have to trade your allegiance to the University of Louisville. You don't have to trade all that. But there's plenty enough stuff around here, especially if you're local. Get some Asbury stuff.
Yeah.
There's
Absolutely.
nothing like, because some of my girls, they've been to like Canes or whatever, and they see somebody wearing an AU hat or an AU shirt, and they're just blown away. They're like, who is that, whatever, and then this person will walk up to them and be like, hey, we come to your games, and they're like, and then when they start staring at them, they're like, oh, I did see that person. It lifts them up so much. They feel like they're walking on top of the world. So just that little bit for a kid that's 2-3 hours away, 4 hours away from another state. For some of these other kids from the other side, literally
could be around the world.
Around the
Well,
world.
and I love that Asbury has, Team AU, you have a broadcast network where you're hearing a lot of these parents are saying, watching the game from wherever they are. That's really cool.
A prime example of that, missions that Chandy and I do, we have teams that come from Las Vegas, Phoenix, and they watch, because a lot of our interns are Asbury students. That not just basketball, but they're
the MVP program.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're soccer players. We've had countless. We had baseball, we had soccer, we've had basketball, we've had countless kids. So what they do is they get to know these kids. They get to know these young men and women that are there all summer long, giving their entire summer away to work in missions. For 3 months there in Puerto Rico. So what happens is then they get to know them. And then they go back, and then before you know it, I'll have somebody text me. They're like, "Oh, I saw you out playing," and they're just going on and on and on. And I'm like, "Okay," but it's because they're watching, from our Asbury Sports Network. That was ASDN now is what we're calling it, Asbury Sports Digital Network. So they're following. They are literally following what we're doing. So, and sometimes like we play, like if we play at 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon, that's like 2 or 3 out in Las Vegas, and they're putting on their phone at work and watching.
That's great.
So,
and then with Link 8, with your organization in Puerto Rico, what are some ways that people can support that?
You can go to, I think it's Link 8. I'm terrible about this. Jandy will get mad at me, but she handles all that kind of stuff.
Google it.
Yeah, I was going to say Google Link 8 Project, and it's LYNC, LYNC, 8, and then the number 8. Some of the best ways you can do that is, we do have more than just the student athletes going. We have churches that go. We have people from the community go. And then, to be honest with you, we have people that just link up. No pun intended.
Yeah.
They actually just link up with and just say, hey, is Asbury going? And there's like 6 of us that are with, Dan, Dr. Dan Lewis has done that with First Southern Bank. So we're not your typical, run-of-the-mill mission organizations. We try to think outside the box. We try to give you different ways of going. So you can either support financially. We want you to obviously think about prayer support. And then if you want to go on a trip, there's ways you can look on there and you can see it. You can email us, you can text us, you can call us, and then we hook people up. Because you could say, well, there's only 2 of us. That's okay. We will connect you with another group.
Yeah. Well, in closing, do you have any kind of story that you could tell about a student who was impacted by this experience of traveling with Link 8?
They're all impacted, but the best one ever, in my opinion, is not so much a single person, but it was the whole organization. And if it wasn't for one thing happening, then it's tied everything else in. And I'll be brief. It was the very first mission trip that Asbury ever had. They came down. Will Schaus brought his team.
Men's basketball team.
Men's basketball. Yeah. They came down. We were working with an organization down there that was rescuing kids from being physically and sexually abused.
Wow.
So some of the toughest situations you can imagine for these kids. So there's a lady who runs the organization. Her name is Magdalena. If there ever was a Jesus with skin on, it's her. We had been working with her. We couldn't get it to match up. We worked with her 1 time, 2 times. The second time was a little bit sketchy, and she was kind of distant with us. Then it came to the 3rd time was to bring Will's team in. And we had this big things planned, and it came time to get her to agree to us coming over. And we were going to bring we were going to bring his basketball team over. She was just ghosting us big time, just ghosting us. And we were like, what is she doing? Remember, this has been like 14 years ago.
Wow.
So she was just ghosting us, and we kept calling her. And so finally, a couple Puerto Rican buddies of mine, they were like, we're just going to go over there. We're going to go see her. So they went over there and they talked to her and they were like, look, he's got the guys here. These are college basketball players. They're bigger than life.
Yeah.
The kids are going to love that. So she finally said, okay. So she let them come over. We came over there and she kind of stood by the tree, and she's just such a sweet lady. And so the kids were out there playing. They had basketball goes up. These guys, Will's guys were dunking on them. They were picking them up. They were letting them dunk, and they did all this kind of stuff. And then I was like, Magdalena, is there anything the guys can do besides just play basketball? Let us, we were supposed to come over here all week and work. And she said, well, I don't know. And then a couple of the ladies that we call Tia's, aunts, they were like, yes, we need this freezer moved. And it was full of food. She was like, we don't have time to unload it. So those guys got down there and they moved, and I'm exaggerating, but it looked like it felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Yeah. They moved it for her all the way over. They did all the cleaning. They did all the stuff. So they jumped in, and they just knocked it out of the park. Mm-hmm. As it was time to go, the kids were, they had the time of their life, smiles all over their face. Will's guys had smiles all over their face, and it was just awesome. So Magdalena was standing there, and I said, is there anything else you need? We're getting ready to leave. Of course, the kids were crying. They didn't want to go. They were hugging on Will. Got everybody separated. And I looked at Magdalena and said, is there anything else? And she was like, no, that's good. Thank you all for coming. And it still seemed kind of odd. Yeah. And I looked at Will, and I said, Will, is there anything else? He said, yeah. He said, we're not leaving until we pray for her. So the guys circled her around her, prayed for her. Seeing those grown men just break down and cry, and her just sob. And then when it was over with, I just went over to her and I asked her, I was like, why did you not want us to come back? We are here to help. And she said, I see the heart and the love that you guys have. And she said, we've been hurt so many times. I just didn't want to get hurt again by people who say they love Jesus, but then I'm not sure. And she said, and I was like, and I started to say something. She went, no, wait a minute. She said, after seeing those group of college boys, that young man, which she was talking about Will, and she said, and knowing that you all have the connection to that group, and knowing you and Chandy now, she said, I'll never question your all's intentions again. So Asbury, it means a lot.
That's amazing.
I can't never get through that story.
Yes, no, that's so powerful. Well, there's nothing I can say to make that story better. So
I can never say it without crying. So
yes.
I thank the Lord every day for that opportunity.
Yeah, and I'm sure those student athletes were still touched by that experience today. I would hope. Yeah.
Will, he breaks down every time we try to talk about it. So
yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for joining us today. I know you are busy. You've got a boot on. You're nursing an injury. You've got a team to coach.
I hate that because it keeps falling off over here. I keep trying to lift it up, but it keeps dropping down. I hope it doesn't make too much noise in here.
Well, I thank you for your time, and thank you for hobbling over here from the Loose Center.
Well, thank you for having me, this opportunity, and being able to talk.
Yes, appreciate it. Thanks, Coach. We'll see you soon.
All right, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of This is Asbury. To learn more about Asbury University, visit asbury.edu.